The only thing that might be more insane than this is listening to what Matt Walsh is about to say about streaming. Did you like that segue? Well, it's almost as good as Brett Cooper yapping about answers. But here we go. This is let's find out why Matt Walsh, the great Matt Walsh, great famed tech expert Matt Walsh. No one knows more about tech than him. Matt Walsh. Let's see what he has to say about streaming and how it's become slop. Because he is he's a great man. He wrote 2 movies. This makes him an expert on what a good movie is and what isn't.
According to the most recent studies on the subject, the average American now subscribes to 4 different streaming services.
And that's very interesting. Again, no one's forcing you to watch television, right? Television is not a human right. I bet if the United Nations came in together like 2028, it was like, guys, television should be a human right. Every country on planet Earth, except for the United States and Israel, would say, no, actually, television shouldn't be a human right. But and then there'd be something like, guys, see, the United States wants to censor the media. Anyway, television is not a human right. You don't need to be subscribed to 4 different streaming services. That is a privilege. That's why maybe you're putting yourself in debt. Caleb Hammer, all those people can be like $30,000 in debt, and they'll be subscribed to Disney Plus. They'll be subscribed to Netflix. Like, do I miss some of these shows? Yeah. I mean, I like watching Ant Farm. I liked watching The Great Teddy Duncan. I liked watching all of these shows, but I said I'm not going to keep paying for this subscription, so I canceled because that's what responsible people do. And conversely, I'm not in debt. Now you might say, oh, and I do know one of his arguments are going to be that, oh well, culture has stripped away from each other. Well, we still have sports, we still have this as well, and we now have the new culture, these reels. I've heard on campus in real life when I've been touching grass out there, because my policy, like I've talked about, is better than Christy's policy, right? Not running around and talking about all the alleged sins and whining and etc., weeping and gnashing of teeth that they've been allegedly doing is, actually good for business. Who would have thought that? But well, when I've been out there, they've been actually talking about the sea lion trend. They've been talking about, I guess in a few days they'll talk about the do random stuff trend, and maybe they'll talk about sometimes they always do to talk about some new television show. So, sure, culture might have changed, but it's just shifted over to the internet, which is, I mean, it's a lot more free than, say, a streaming service. I mean, you can get the internet at a library. You can get the internet just in a coffee shop at this point. So if it's between me and it's between the internet and streaming service, I'm going to go with the internet.
Subscribe to 5 or 6 or even more. Netflix alone has 300 million subscribers, which almost equals the entire population of the United States.
Again, that is great, and it's great for business. I mean, we should be applauding them. I mean, that's amazing. They have almost an entire country's worth, the entire United States on that. I mean, that's great. And I think that streaming is amazing. Sure, you might have ads, and that's fine. I mean, we've always had ads. I mean, you have to pay. And again, you always have to pay, at least since cable was invented in the 50s. I don't know why people act like paying for TV is some sort of new thing. But, like, there's so many benefits. You can watch it on any device. You can rewind, fast forward a lot easier. You don't have to carry, physical DVDs and CDs around with you. And yeah, sure, there are some disadvantages. Sometimes they take things away from the library. Sometimes there are some edits. But if given the option, you can still buy your favorite shows on digital or on CD and on DVD. People, when they go into something, they always criticize it 100% without looking at the advantages. There are some disadvantages to streaming, right? And, there's some people who just don't choose to participate because I'm not going to pay that. We all free. We all have our own choices. But let's see what Matt has to say about this.
Not counting illegal aliens. And yet the surveys and our own
I don't think a lot of it, but okay.
experience tell us that most people aren't satisfied with these services and are only.
Yeah. People get mad about everything. The pursuit of happiness is not always happy. There's some survey that came out and said, oh, well, teenagers on social media aren't always happy. But, I guess conversely, the people outside, out there, skip to my loo out there, very excited. Like, okay, bro. Like, and if we also did a survey that said kids who do chores, I guess they also aren't happy, so should we ban that too? Like in Adventures in the Odyssey? So should we have some sort of strike or protest where we ban chores? No.
Only becoming less satisfied every day. We all have the impression that it's too much. There are too many of these platforms. They're only getting more expensive. And as the service
Well, then you
declines,
could just not buy it. No one is put you at gunpoint and force you to buy Netflix. Put you at gunpoint and force you to buy Disney Plus. Who held you at gunpoint and force you to buy Hulu? Nobody. It is not a need to watch these television shows. It is a want.
and the one major promise of streaming that we wouldn't have to deal with ads has been almost entirely abandoned at this point. People are experiencing a great amount of fatigue, streaming fatigue. And what's more,
I mean, that's not even a first one. That is zero if like oh wow, I'm so fatigued. You know, and I don't like to appeal to this. I don't like to appeal to emotion. But like there's starving people all over the planet Earth, and you're whining about that you have streaming fatigue. Like, okay, bro. Fatigue. You know, there are people out there doing backbreaking labor. I'm so fatigued. I can't decide if I want Disney Plus or Hulu this month. You know, I can barely afford to put TV on the table, guys. Like, okay, bro.
it seems that these services are bad for movies themselves. The art of filmmaking has declined, which everyone has noticed. While streaming services are ubiquitous, the movies and shows themselves feel somehow more marginal, less relevant than ever before. The Oscars happened this past weekend. Nobody noticed or cared because nobody noticed or cared about any of the movies that were nominated.
Okay. And that's terrible. No one cared about a movie at an awards television show. Well, this really is so important that it dedicates. How long is the segment, bro? A 10-minute segment on your show. Okay, that's Bo woke up and like there's nothing happening in the news. Nothing enough that I can talk about for 10 minutes. Nah, we gotta talk about how no one cares about the Oscars and movies are bad apparently. Well, people have been yapping about how movies are bad, not bad in the technical sense from the art of filmmaking, but bad in the sense of like inappropriate, etc. for like millennia. Well, you know what I mean, not like millennia, like the movies,
Nominated. So, what's really happening here and why? We've done a series of deep dive explorations into various facets of American cultural life over the past few months.
Very hard hitting journal. Yes, sir. We got down to the bottom of Hulu. We got down to the bottom of Hulu. Yeah, guys, hard hitting expose.
Trying to figure out why the quality of everything is on the decline.
And I think that Matt just needs to be a little bit more optimistic. He's been whining and pontificating about how the smartphone has ruined society. Now he's going to whine and pontificate about how streaming has ruined society. No, we are in the greatest time in history. And I've seen people make this claim about how this is the greatest time in history to have babies. Sure. This is also the greatest time in history just to be alive. We are in a time in history where you can access nearly any movie with the touch of a button and a swipe of a credit card. We're in a time of history where you can access almost any knowledge and fact with your phone. You can run an artificial intelligence model on your phone completely and totally offline. You can communicate with someone across the world without them needing to be physically connected via telegram wires. You can make calls to someone for free across the world. Housing has gotten more expensive and it's gotten cheaper, but you can buy stocks literally on your phone. You don't need to go to New York and ask someone for that. But there's an app on there you can put in, and you don't have to buy the whole stock. You just buy it 5. And even so, if you find housing to be expensive and cheap, too expensive, guess what? We have 3D printers that can print you out a house. Innovation like that. We can see and map anything. We can find stuff on our phone at any time. We can order food to our door on our phone at any time. This is the greatest time in human history to be alive. I do know there's gonna be comments. Oh well, there's such and such sin there, and the decline of civilization there, blah 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 blah. But I mean, as a whole, this is the greatest time to be alive. I know that people act in the United States like to pretend that they're being persecuted or whatever for their faith, and in some cases they may be. But right now we are still a free nation. We can still practice our faith freely. We can still talk about our faith freely. And if you bring someone up in the faith, they might turn out well. I turned out well. Megan Basham was talking about how her kid, I guess, was asleep, so she texted back a response on her kid's phone, and then the parent also texted back a response on her kid's phone. Very funny story, right? And I didn't know where this was going to go. That all the people were going to be talking about, oh, how, and I do kind of struggle with this as well because I like Megan Bass and I support Megan Bass and I didn't want to say anything about, oh, well, you kind of had the kid's password, parental control, yeah, yeah, you know the whole stick that those digital the defense of democracy, those passcodes, those digital defense of democracy, that your phone is kind of like a diary. You wouldn't want anyone reading to it. You wouldn't want anyone texting for you. I mean, I wouldn't want that happening. But I agree with Megan Bass's ideology and I like Megan Bass a lot. So I didn't really want to say anything. Also, one of the reasons I'm against this is because I'm scared of ideological clash. I mean, if I wasn't scared of ideological clash and people reading through my texts and messing up my life, etc., trying to report me to my parents, they tried that multiple times at this point. If I wasn't scared of that kind of ideological clash, people spying on me of that nature, then yeah, I might be a little bit more lenient towards that. But I'm not going to. Like I said, I defend my allies. I also defend the people. I defend myself, right? I'm not going to support policies that would make my life worse. So I didn't really want to say anything about that about Megan Basham. I didn't know that people said that and she went in and investigated them. So it's kind of a catch-22 situation for me because I support her and I also oppose the policy that she was espousing. So there is that. What was our train of thought? Why do we even say that? But in any case, this is the great. Like I was saying, yeah, this is the greatest time in civilization. The natalists, the postnatalists are gonna say to have a baby. Well, I mean, yeah, it's great to have a baby. It's also great to exist now. I mean, I'd rather exist in this time period now. I'd rather be born in the time period I've been born in now. In this country that I've been born in now, the greatest country on planet Earth. I'd rather be born here in now, in this era, in the artificial intelligence era, where we can access and communicate and talk about anything. Yeah, there's sort of drawbacks. There's drawbacks to every era. I mean, yeah, sure. You might have had much better, I guess, social cohesion in the 70s, allegedly, right? But I mean, it was much more isolating, much less connection, much less free time, right? And I think nostalgia, always looking back. I'm not saying that we shouldn't look back to history. I pull on and draw on historical examples all the time. A few minutes ago, I talked about Poland, right? In SSLTW, I draw on historical real life examples all the time. I talk about battles and how people and I use and analogies for that. I'm not saying that you shouldn't study history and reference it. I'm just saying that you shouldn't be stuck in the past, like Matt Walsh sometimes is. Let's get back to his clip.
In a word, everything kind of sucks now. And
I don't think that's true. Everything does not suck. We just talked about this. We're in the greatest time, the greatest country, the greatest period in history.
Why is that? What's going wrong? That's what we've been trying to.
Oh, yes. It's kind of ironic that he's whining about streaming and he has all these streaming here. It's kind of like when ESPN was talking about that illegal NBA gambling thing and they were promoting gambling, so they pulled it off the screen.
Figure out. And speaking of things that suck, these streaming services certainly fit the bill. And so do most of the movies and shows that they charge us exorbitant fees to access.
I mean, again, if you feel that way, and I see my taste in television may not be the same. I mean, I like Ant Farm, I like Good Luck Charlie. So, and as long as I can access it in a little tiny box on Tubi, it's fine with me. So my taste may be different. But if you think it sucks, no one is forcing you at gunpoint to watch the television shows. No one's forcing you to watch that show, Matt. No one forced me to watch your show. I watch it because I like it.
Why is that? Let's explore that question. Start with the fact that everything is bundled now. Roughly 85% of subscribers to Amazon Prime Video are also subscribed to Amazon Prime, which supposedly gets you faster shipping on some items.
Supposedly?
Relatively few people.
It does. Why is he acting like he doesn't know what Amazon? It does. And you get better returns as well. What is he talking about? Obviously it does. It does.
Will subscribe to Prime Video all by itself. Meanwhile, millions of people have access to Netflix and Hulu through a deal with their cell phone carrier, usually T-Mobile or Verizon. The reason that the streaming services offer these bundles is that they're worried about churn, which means losing customers. Churn is reduced by significant margin when customers have Netflix or Hulu as part of a bundle with their carrier. Bundles are
good. What? I got this nice thing that I want with my carrier that I was already going to use because I need a phone. Is this supposed to be a bad thing now? And, if you don't want that, you can go to Mint Mobile or some other MNVO and just pay for the service itself. 15 a month, 20 a month, 30 a month, what are we on?
Are complicated to cancel, for one thing. They might be presented as a free add-on when in reality you're definitely paying for it. And
again, if you don't want, No, again, no one is forcing you at gunpoint to buy this service.
Maybe most importantly, when you have a Netflix or T-Mobile bundle, you're likely to be less demanding about the content on Netflix. Over time, you naturally come to see Netflix as a component of a larger necessary contract with your phone carrier, and that's exactly how Netflix and the other streaming services want you to perceive things.
I mean, that is a fair point. In his favor, that that is a fair point. That you're not going to cancel your whole cell phone contract because you don't like the shows on Netflix. But then again, you could after like the time period is up if you really don't like them. And again, if you don't watch it, you can always go over to an MNVO. That's the beauty of capitalism. There's always going to be some sort of competition. Sure, there's 3 major carriers, but there's also MNVOs that don't do these bundles.
Amazon doesn't have to justify their cost increases if everyone thinks of Prime Video Ultra as a necessary component of Amazon Prime. The other part,
If everyone thinks that, then it's fine. They're just responding to what the market is demanding. So, I mean, if everyone canceled because they didn't like it, they wouldn't have to. They'd lower the price. That's how the economy works. That's how math works, guys.
part of the problem, one of the reasons why it's so hard to evaluate the value of
Welcome to the future of press wires. EIN Press Wire. Our
the various services is that they lose the rights to shows and movies all the time. Netflix acquired the rights to Seinfeld in 2019, but you have no idea if they'll have the show in 2027 because the licensing deal expires at the end of this year. And on top of that, even when a show,
I mean, how many seasons was that? It's like 9, right? I think it's 9. And let's say 22 episodes. I don't want to look stupid here. So let's say 22 episodes times 9 seasons times like what? Let's say 25 minutes. That's 4,950 minutes of content divided by 60. 82 hours of content. Now, there's 168 hours in a week. So it's like half a week's worth of content there. When you're trying to tell me that if you were subscribed to Netflix from 2019 to 2027, that you couldn't finish half a week's worth of content? What are we doing at this point? And if you only subscribe for that show, over time, you could have just bought the show. And you can still do that. You can still buy a show. I mean, I finished Ant-Form. I finished Good Luck Charlie in 3 months with a job. I was working at the movie theater. This was in the MI6 era. So I had a job, and I finished 2 shows. If you can't finish half a week's worth of content in 8 years, whose that? I mean, really, whose fault is that? It's yours. You're not even a fan of the show. Well, I have watched technically more episodes of that show, and I've never seen an episode of the show than you have if you haven't finished it. Like over these years, I've averaged it out. I've seen more time than you ever have. Like
show is available, you have no idea if it's going to be the original version. There's no streaming service that offers Scrubs as it originally aired, for example. The licensing rights to the music, which is a big part of the show, were simply too big of a hassle to renew.
If you care that much about the show, you can still buy it. It's not like streaming services made buying television shows illegal. We're still recording?
And to give another example, the version of Seinfeld that's on Netflix is widescreen, even though the show was never intended to be widescreen. For the Netflix version, they simply just cropped the original image so that it fits widescreen TVs. And that means they deleted some of the content on the top and bottom of the image in every frame. And the result is that the show looks very different from how it originally aired, which may seem like a small issue, and maybe it is in the grand scheme, but it's more significant than you might think. I mean, if we look at films and shows as pieces of art, which they are or should be, then it's a problem that these services are making alterations to the art, basically as they see fit.
If you care this much, bro, there are archives of these shows, and there's a whole community of people that get scared they're going to edit shows and books who archive them. You could do that if you care about truly care about the integrity of Seinfeld. You know, Seinfeld. This apparently was a 10-minute segment on the show. The integrity. And you go like, oh, I talk about feminist things all the time. Yeah, because this is false. The heartbeat of America. I talk about what I want on here. You can talk about what he wants. But you are Matt Walsh. Okay? You have contact with the President of the United States. You've been to the White House. You had the State of the Union last year. Okay? You are supposed to be some sort of important podcaster. I don't know, guys. I think there are bigger issues affecting the United States of America than Seinfeld got edited on Netflix or something. truly one of the issues of our time. One of the great, yeah, top, top, 20,000 or something issues of our time.
No way for most people to access the original version of it. The only way to avoid these kinds of changes is to buy physical media that streaming services can't mess with. You can buy Seinfeld on 4K Blu-ray, for example, complete with the original formatting and a bunch of special features and so on. And indeed, a lot of people are doing that now. There's a whole market for physical media that's undergoing something of a
Okay. That's what I said.
renaissance at the moment. But as it stands, there's simply no legal way to stream the show in its original broadcast format.
Well, truly, I weep. I weep that we cannot stream Seinfeld the way that it was intended. I just get a bit choked up thinking about that. I'm so sniffly. Choked up about any actual issue. Okay, somebody gets shot, and I'll feel sad for them. I'm not going to get choked up and crying. You think I'm crying that Seinfeld isn't airing the way that you want it to?
Unless you're an extremely devoted Seinfeld fan, you probably weren't aware of this. And you probably aren't aware of the many, many other ways that streaming services.
I think that's a common knowledge that people took the 4-3 shows and instead of having Blackboard, expanded them. Now, maybe you didn't know that. But again, I don't expect you to know this because you're a podcaster who talks about important, relevant issues affecting Americans, like wars or whatever the president is doing, not Disney Plus.
Mess with the content that you think you're getting. On Hulu, you can't access 5 episodes of Always Sunny in Philadelphia because they were retroactively canceled during the BLM hysteria. Basically, any episode where a character appears in blackface, even if the point of the gag is to mock Danny DeVito for wearing blackface, has been erased. Just doesn't exist anymore. If you subscribe to Hulu, this is never
Fine, yeah, fine. That's a problem. They shouldn't be erasing stuff like that. But I mean, you can still buy it.
explained to you. They act like you're getting the whole show, but you're not. And many other shows have similar banned episodes for similar reasons. A lot of them do. And again, none of this is ever explained. You're not told about it. But NBC removed 4.
Wait, this segment's not 10 minutes long. It's 25 minutes long. Oh my gosh.
30 Rock episodes for depictions of blackface, which again, obviously we're not endorsements of the idea of blackface, but whatever. The community episode entitled Advanced Dungeons and Dragons was nuked from streaming services as well because the Asian comedian dressed up as a, quote, dark elf. And South Park took 5 episodes offline because they depicted Muhammad in an unflattering manner, which is a capital offense in the Muslim world, which we've now imported to the United States. So, they decided to stick to mocking Jesus and Christians and Trump voters instead, which is safe. Which is one of the reasons why comedy is dead, by the way. All the comedians are...
All right, fine, cool. Okay, you can still probably find these. Right. Now, if it's only available in streaming and they're changing it like that, you probably shouldn't do that. But okay, a 25-minute segment for this.
Cowards. And what's important to emphasize here is that...
It's like, do you know how hard it would be to find access episodes of like South Park or whatever, I don't know, what it was doing, in 1999? Do you know how hard it would be to find some sort of collection like this and watch it on your phone? Well, phones didn't exist, but in the palm of your hand. Do you know how hard that would be? Most people don't even have VCRs. You watch a show, you missed a show? Oh, well. I listened to the children's program on the radio, the Christian children's program, a bunch of audio dramas, Outfitted Adventure and Odyssey, which had a website. If I missed a show, oh well, too bad for me. There's no recording of it. So we have recordings of it now that might be a little bit out of place. But back then, it was live essentially. You miss an episode, oh well. You don't have your VCR, then too bad. And then Walsh is going to pretend that life is so much better before streaming.
Well, it's obviously very bad that these streaming services are censoring shows without even admitting it. This censorship is a symptom of a much larger problem. The problem is not simply that wokeness has run amok or that left-wing DEI bureaucrats have taken over the entertainment industry, although that's...
Yep, absolutely. Yes, sir. Yep.
all true. The real problem is, in part, all this content exists in the ether. You access it through subscriptions. Even if you buy a streaming movie on Amazon, you still only have access to your purchase as long as you have your Amazon subscription. The death of physical media means that nobody owns any...
Well, just said that physical media was surging 2 minutes ago. And they're saying that physical media is dead. It's not dead. I still have a okay, you can get a flash drive, stuff like that. Okay. You can still buy a CD. You can still buy a DVD. You can still buy a freaking record. I don't know what he's talking about the death. Like, the only thing, I guess cassettes are dead. But I mean, they deserve to die a long, painful death. They're plastic. They're physical. They were going to die.
particular piece of media anymore. When I was a kid, we had a physical library of physical copies of our favorite films. We would watch those films over and over again. And what this meant was not only that the movies couldn't be retroactively changed or censored, but also that we got to know these movies. They became a part of our lives in a way that no movie today ever will be, because it always...
Will said he had seven movies and he only watched those, so now Now, that's good because you have more movies now that you can watch instead of the same 7 Disney films that he grew up watching, I guess. Okay, that's
always exists in the digital cloud, one bit of content in an endless scroll of other bits. This is how it works now across the board. I mean, in every area of life, we are confronted with an infinite number of options. It plays
Dang, darn it, capitalism. Too many options, guys. We need to go back. We shouldn't have like 5 options for burgers and chicken nuggets. No, sir. In this country, and in this house, we're gonna have one movie. Oh my God, we're gonna have one chicken sandwich. We're gonna have one option for French fries. We have too many options in this great country. Is that really what you're going with, Matt? Really? Like when the Russian prime minister or whatever came to the United States, was like, "Wow, look at all this food! Wow!" Joined the grocery store. Wow, you guys have this many options? I guess Matt's like, "Nah, we got one movie. You put it in the VCR."
like society at every level. You go to the store for ketchup, and there are like 97 different options.
I can't believe it. He actually said he was whining that there were too many options for ketchup. You can't make this up. You realize that if there's only like 1 or 2 ketchup companies, the price of ketchup would skyrocket, right? You do realize that having lots of options is how competition exists. I'm not an economist, but you do realize how this works, right? Right?
To choose from. The same is true of cars, watches, dating apps.
Cars. But listen, you're gonna drive a Ford and you're gonna like it. I like Ford. They're my favorite brand. But that is a good thing. Competition is a good thing.
Clothing, cosmetics, toiletries, anything. It's too many choices. It's
Communism at this point.
overwhelming. It's overstimulating. You commit to one, and then you worry that maybe that one or the other one would have been better. It's this kind of paralysis by analysis that everybody is suffering from perpetually all the time.
Everybody suffers from not being able to choose ketchup. Maybe you are, but I'm not. That's where reviewers come in. I review lots of phones. I'll review movies if you want me. We got plugged in. People come in and they review stuff. Like, is this supposed to be a bad thing? Like, I fail to see the own here. Like,
and along the same lines as mentioned, there's no communal experience of film anymore. This is really the main thing.
Yeah, no one's all sitting around and watching the same movie anymore. So sad. So it's I call it, guys. You guys can go back. You guys can check the tape. Audit my clip.
Everybody's watching different things. We're not experiencing the stuff together.
Dang. Everyone's not watching your favorite show. Dang. Darn it. I can't. No. Everyone's not watching our show. Find me a river. Find me a freaking river, bro.
The movies at the Oscars today aren't always worse than Oscar movies 30 years ago. Sometimes they are, often they are. But it's more that they exist in a fractured cultural landscape, so none of them make any real impact.
So profound.
That's why it was so weird to see them win awards the other day. Not that anyone saw it because nobody was watching, but when you hear about the movies that won, it's always weird because you think, like, I haven't heard of any of those.
Now, maybe I worked in a movie theater, so maybe I'm a little biased, but I've heard of Sinners. I didn't watch it, but I've heard of it. And like Matt, you also you have heard of these movies. Let's stop pretending, guys. You have heard of these movies.
And say what you want about a movie like, say, Titanic. That's an example I've used in the past, but that was a cultural sensation in a way that no film today is, or probably ever can be.
Dang. Unfortunate. Everyone didn't see the movie that he likes, so it's a 25-minute segment on the show about why that's bad or something.
To give you an idea of what I'm talking about, here are just some of the movies that received Oscar nominations in 2004, more than 2 decades ago.
Okay.
And see how many of these you're familiar with. Lord of the Rings, Return of the King, Seabiscuit, Master and Commander, The Last Samurai, Mystic River, Lost in Translation, Finding Nemo, and Pirates of the Caribbean.
I only heard of 3 of those: Pirates of the Caribbean, Finding Nemo, and Lord of the Rings.
Now, even though these are now relatively old films, there's a pretty good chance you've seen several of those movies, probably heard of all of them. Some of them are classic.
I've only seen Finding Nemo.
Now let's look at the major Oscar nominees from 2026. Here's what we have. Sinners, Marty Supreme, One Battle After Another, Blue Moon, The Secret Agent, Sentimental Value, Begonia, If I Had Legs, I'd Kick You, Zootopia 2, Arco, Weapons, and F1.
I've actually seen F1. I have heard of Zootopia 2. I'm just going to rewind. I've heard of Marty Supreme. I've heard of One Battle After Another.
Now let's look at the major Oscar nominees from 2026. Here's what we have. Sinners, Marty Supreme.
And Sinners. So, I mean, fact check false, and I'm not even that big into movies.
Weapons and F1. Now, again, these aren't all necessarily bad movies. Some of them are. Some of them, like Weapons, are actually pretty good, I thought.
F1 was good. I don't think Weapons, is that the movie where let me check. Is that, or would they all walk out of the house? Yeah, I think I've heard of that, but I'm not going to count that because I worked in the movie theater. But yeah, I haven't even seen F1. So, I mean, what is your point here?
And all of them are technically sophisticated filmmaking. They're all well made from a technical perspective. But most people haven't heard of about 90% of them.
Stop following. What about this?
It's not just that most people haven't seen them, it's that they don't even know they exist.
Dang. That, you're telling me that now for the first time. Wow. Like, who cares?
And we certainly won't be talking about any of these films in 20 years. They'll be forgotten because, we're all watching different things.
Well, then, about Finding Nemo and the Big 2-6. Well, guys, when is the last time you talked about Finding Nemo? Just hands up in the chat.
And there are so many choices, such an infinite array of options all the time that no particular piece of content can remain in our consciousness for very long. That's why ratings are down, by the way, way down. This is from the Hollywood Reporter. Quote, Sunday's 98th Academy Awards drew 17.86 million viewers on ABC and Hulu based on Nielsen's big data.
A lot of people on me. I mean,
plus panel ratings. That's down about 9% from last year's Oscars, which drew 19.69 million viewers for a post-pandemic high, and the smallest audience for the awards since 2022 and 16.68 million.
Yeah, whatever.
So they dropped 14% of the key demographic, and that's including streaming numbers. They tried to boost the numbers as much as they could, and it's still a big drop. Unless some kind of stunt is involved, say somebody gets slapped on stage, or they announce the wrong Best Picture winner or something, then there's basically nobody who even pretends to care about.
Hey, are you saying life was better when people cared about the Oscars? Because, I bet I could find some evangelical thing about how, the Oscars is all bad and satanic from the 80s. You don't want to...
The awards anymore. For comparison, the Oscars had around 45 million views in 1996. That's the year that Braveheart won. They had more than 35 million viewers in 2016, just a decade ago. And now they're down to 18 million, including a streaming audience, which mostly isn't paying attention. Now, is Braveheart...
Sad. It just breaks my heart. When I think about the major issues in the United States, I always think about the poor movie companies that can't get 20 million people to watch the Oscars. I mean, I say that is like a top something issue affecting the nation. Like it's just terrible. It just chokes me up inside. I'm so sorry. Okay, guys, we are back. Let's get back to the Matt Walsh show.
A better movie than the ones that were nominated this year? I think it certainly was, yes. But it's not just about...
I cannot make any claims on that. I have not seen the movie, so I won't make any claims towards that.
About it being a better movie. The point is that Braveheart was a cultural phenomenon in a way that no Oscar movie today is or ever could be. The proliferation of streaming and the internet generally has destroyed the communal experience of movie watching so much that it's almost impossible for any film to be enjoyed and known and loved by a majority of Americans.
I don't think that's true. And even if it is, like, why does that matter? Seriously, why?
None of them can imprint themselves onto the zeitgeist the way that films did, in the 1990s or any time before that. And yes, it's easy to point out that the Oscars implemented DEI and they won't give awards to productions that aren't diverse in some way. That's obviously part of it. But even without that handicap, these numbers probably wouldn't be much better. Now, I'm not going to wax poetic very much about the blockbuster days, but the fact is, a lot of people are starting to think.
Welcome to the future of press wires. EIN Press Wire.
To think about how things were back then. I saw a post on X saying that this is a trailer for one of the most popular indie video games right now. And it's a game where you play as a clerk at a video store like Blockbuster. We'll put that up on the screen so you can see this exciting gameplay. You just stand behind the desk, hand out the movies.
Okay, people, this is once again what I've been talking about, weaponized nostalgia. Okay, oh, we all love Blockbuster. Oh, I wish I could go down to the video rental store and have to rent a video. If you think about this, makes zero economic sense in the age of streaming and in the age of Netflix. It makes zero economic sense. Okay, Netflix subscriptions like what, $7.99, $9.99, $11.99, $17.99. I'll give you that. Let's say it's $17.99. If you were to rent a video from a video rental store, what is it, $5 for like what, 48 hours? If you watch, I don't know, more than 4 movies, the streaming service is objectively and arguably the better price, and that's why Blockbuster doesn't exist anymore, except for in one store and in the hearts and minds of the lives of thousands of people, and in some sort of a video game. It's just weaponized nostalgia at this point. We are in an era that is far better than the 1990s, far better than the 1980s.
Make sure people hit the rewind button and so on. This is what passes for entertainment today, apparently. So the video game industry is in even worse shape than I had thought. But actually, there's a reason that the game is popular. People are nostalgic for the pre-smartphone, pre-streaming era. It used to be that if you wanted to watch a movie, you had to make a commitment. You had to plan your night around it. It was
We don't, again, people are nostalgic for the pre-smart. And this is again one of the problems I was talking about, like with Del Partridge. Del Partridge knows full well that he's not going to get leggings to be outlawed. He doesn't even want leggings to be outlawed. Matt Walsh knows full well that he's not going to be able to get smartphones to be outlawed. Streaming's not going to go away. I mean, heck, you work for a streaming service called Daily Wire Plus. So he just knows that he can peddle this. I mean, this isn't even a fake. I mean, at least Del Partridge can kind of mangle some Bible verses and kind of project and tell on himself a little bit to try to make himself seem a little bit more spiritual about his anti-legging issue. At least he can kind of mangle the Bible there a little bit. I mean, here Matt Walsh has nothing. No, really. Oh, I long for the days when you could just play a VHS that might break, and you only had one movie, and it cost you like $7, and you had to return it in 48 hours. Oh, I long for the days. I weep. I mean, if you could still do that if you want to, maybe not on VHS, but on DVD. Like, I mean, if you want to do that, you could. It's just no one does that because
it was an event. You physically drove to a store, looked through the shelves, talked to the clerk, you have a conversation about the movie you want to watch, maybe.
Hey, you are famously an introvert. You famously don't want to talk to people. Please stop trying to pretend that you long for the days when you could sit around and talk to some random 20-year-old clerk who does not care about some movie that you're going to watch. Matt, you and I both know we don't care. We don't give a single crap about what's going on in that person's life. I don't care, and I know that you don't care, and I know that they don't care. So let's cut the crap out. Let's stop pretending that we all care about what this random clerk is thinking. Oh, well, in the good old days, and no one cared. Okay. But unless you're like a teenage girl going to the mall or something like that, your friend works at the video rental store, we do not care. We do not care.
You recommend something, you bring it home. It was an experience. There was a sense of community in it. And then when you get the movie home, it would be just one movie, maybe a couple, but you're not bringing 6,000 movies home with you.
Does Matt think that people watch every movie on Netflix? Is that what he thinks streaming's like?
And you'd watch the movie you rented. You'd actually sit and watch it with no other screens distracting you. If you liked it.
You can still do that. No one is forcing you to scroll X on your phone when you're watching. No one's forcing you to do that. You're not being held at gunpoint.
Maybe you'd watch it again the next day, and then you return it. Or you wouldn't return it, and you rack up late fees until you had to go get a membership at the Blockbuster across town under a fake name. But either way, the experience was very different. It was a different experience because watching a film was an experience in a way that it just isn't today.
Truly a problem that it warrants 14 minutes of yapping.
And by contrast, as Matt Damon recently pointed out, modern streaming services have a very different audience. Their audience puts zero effort into finding a show to watch. They just throw it on screen while they scroll through TikTok on their phones or whatever. And the streaming companies realize that, so they have to dumb everything down to the lowest common denominator. They have to.
Finally, an actual problem. Okay, and that's just society. Would you want me to legalize watching movies when you're on TikTok or something like that? What do you want? If people see this, then they'll start naturally demanding having better quality content, obviously on their own streaming service. No sane company on planet Earth is just gonna go DVD only in the big 2.6. But I mean, even Abeka did streaming. Okay, freaking Abeka did streaming. If Abeka is doing streaming, bro, you know full well that the DVD is not coming back in its full glory, bro. Like,
they have to take into account that most people are not paying attention to what's on the screen. Watch.
Netflix, the standard way to make an action movie that we learned was, you usually have like 3 set pieces, one in the first act, one in the second, one in the third, and they kind of ramp up, and the big one with all the explosions, and you spend most of your money on that one in the third act. That's your kind of finale. And now they're like, can we get a big one in the first 5 minutes to get somebody? We want people to stay tuned in, and it wouldn't be terrible if you reiterated the plot 3 or 4 times in the dialogue because people are on their phones while they're watching. You know what I mean? And so then it's going to really start to infringe on how we're telling.
I mean, it makes sense to have some sort of nice hook at the beginning of the movie. And there's some creative ways you could do this. You can be like, start from the end of the movie. You can be like, with the record scratch, be like, well, I guess you're wondering how I got here. And you see the explosions within the first 5 minutes. So, there are some ways that you can write around this, though it can be kind of annoying. It's kind of like Nick Guy Private Eye, where they literally are banging you over the head of the Bible. Like, they sit there for 5 minutes talking about some Bible lesson while the guy's about to tie them up and shoot them or something like that. So, it's like, they've been doing this in media for a long time.
I think So after you watch it, if you go and watch a movie on Netflix now, you'll really notice that if you hadn't already. That's I mean, he would know, and that's actually true. You'll find that throughout the movie, they just
Who was that? I don't know who that was.
it's kind of like they have characters explain the plot and kind of get you up to date on where the movie is, because they're just assuming that at any given moment, half the audience is peering up from their phone, and they need the movie they're watching explained back to them over and over again. And it's not just that the writing has become more repetitive and formulaic and dumbed down. The other issue is that in more and more cases, these shows are basically being generated by a computer. You have AI.
Man, we didn't even make it 17 minutes without him blaming artificial intelligence. Couldn't even make it 20 minutes without him blaming AI. You know, AI. The huge problem. AI is Matt Walsh's leggings.
Writing the scripts. It's already happening. It's going to happen even more and more. We have no way of knowing how prevalent it is, but we suspect it's very prevalent. And you have computers generating all the scenery. That's one of the reasons why in Los Angeles, the number of film shoots has plummeted to COVID levels. This is from the Hollywood Reporter once again. And you can see it there that the graph certainly looks like the entertainment industry is in free fall.
Oh, it's really funny. You can, you know, Matt and these other podcasters, you can rail against Hollywood and how it's bad and the woke agenda. And then you see the numbers for Hollywood are doing bad and the streaming numbers are doing bad. And then you whine about that. Like, pick a side.
If you watch enough streaming shows, you'll quickly realize what's going on. No one's actually going outside and filming anymore because computers can just do it all themselves. Consider this viral scene from...
Sounds very cool. Like, if you think about that, you know, everyone talks about, when I would ask my mom how, like, scenes in movies or films or something like that, she'd be like, oh, computer. I was always wondering, like, how they were doing it. I still don't have, you know, the answers right now. Maybe it's Autodesk Maya. Obviously, with generative AI, we have that as well. I mean, doesn't that not sound so very incredibly cool? I mean, we have computers. The processing power of some just RAM, bits, silicon on a chip is generating imagery, and you're sitting there whining about it? Again, this is the greatest time in human history to be alive.
The film Carry On, which streams on Netflix, is a movie about a TSA agent who's blackmailed into letting a bomb on board a plane. I actually watched this thing for some reason, and I can report that it's the dumbest movie ever made, the dumbest and least plausible movie ever made. But it's in many ways like the perfect Netflix movie. It's the kind of movie that you get these days. It just got like it's basically.
Wait a second, how would you blackmail one TSA agent? It's like at least 2, 3 there.
Algorithmically generated, and every part of it, and it's the kind of movie that's made just to be a piece of content that you can click on and watch sort of half-heartedly, not really pay attention. It's actually better if you don't pay. It's actually this movie in particular is made with the experience is better if you don't pay close attention to what you're watching, and that's what
I've never been able to pay like. I pay attention to the plot, but I've never been paying attention to like the background details. You know, trying to make these vast worlds come to life. What's that channel? Film Theory, or you know, those people who notice like small inconsistencies in the background of movies, cinema sins or stuff like that. That's not me, but you know, I can just sit there and watch a movie. I like the movie for what it is. If there's some sort of scientific inaccuracy or factual, historical inaccuracy, yeah, I'm gonna notice something like that. But I do like the movie. What's it called? When they're going and get the Declaration of Independence. Well, I'll check whatever it's called.
you get. But in any event, here's the big obligatory action sequence. Watch.
It's always funny when they're talking about something that they don't like and they still give them a credit because I guess it's the law. Something like it's kind of funny. Is that supposed to be bad or something? Cool to me. I mean, it's an action sequence. I mean, it's not supposed to be like, you know, I don't know what Matt likes. Braveheart quality. What's that? It's a fighting movie? Fighting scenes.
And that black woman was the hero, of course. That's the other way you know that it's a Netflix streaming slop. Is that you got the black female hero beating up the bad guys. Also, this woman had.
Yeah, well, if I said that, you know, my cousin would drag me.
Apparently has absolute authority and power. Like she gets to the airport. I don't even remember she gets to the airport and she's connecting with the you know, air traffic control and telling them whether to let planes fly or not. It's like no one questions whether she has the authority to do that.
Oh, that's crazy. See, now those are the kind of inaccuracies I would point out and notice. Like, bro, you can't do that, obviously.
Now, some people with shockingly low standards praise the scene because it's one of those single take sequences that isn't actually a single take. Really, it's completely unconvincing in every way. You can tell these people aren't really in a car. There's no sense of physics and momentum at all. They look like they're in.
Looks like they're in a car to me. I mean, I don't know. Again, it's an action scene where you kind of have to suspend reality.
In front of a green screen because that's exactly what's actually happening.
Dang, darn you, green screen. This is brand new 2-year-old technology. Never before have we had green screen. You know, the green screen kids they basically invented the green screen. You know, you know that movie Mary Poppins when they have the special light that has the rotoscoping and the penguins dancing. You know, those were actual penguins. You know, fun fact, guys. They actually went down to Antarctica. They kidnapped some penguins and they somehow got them into the little animation machine. You know, some Technicolor or something like that. But those are actual penguins. That wasn't green screen. That wasn't animation. No, sir. No, sir. He was actually dancing on stage with those penguins.
They had more convincing and more authentic car chases in the 1960s. Films like Bullet were much more interesting and watchable than whatever this is. In 2005, before the streaming era, the budget didn't go entirely to CGI. It went to scenes like this one, which you can see here. It's from the first season of the HBO series Rome. The crew built a 5-acre set, which is part of the reason the production cost was over $100 million. The goal was to make everything look as believable as possible, and they succeeded. Now it's kind of the goal is to make everything look like a video game, or at least they don't care if it looks like a video game, because the assumption again is that you're not paying attention to what you're watching anyway.
And that's fine. Okay? It's a television show. It's fake. It's a movie. It's like, as long as it's not like janky, terrible quality, I'm fine with it.
So that's what you get when you watch streaming films and shows these days, a video game. This is what you're paying an ever-increasing amount of money for, along with
your... I'm paying an ever-increasing amount. Like, again, you're paying for that because you want to. These streaming companies aren't coming up and basically saying, no more free-to-air TV. You must have streaming services. They're not saying that this is going to become part of the Bill of Rights, the 11th Amendment. Right? It just kicks off the 11th Amendment, replaces that. Everyone must have some sort of streaming service. No one's forcing you to have this. No one's forcing you to watch this. No one's forcing you to make this content. The people who are watching it, and the people who pay for it, and the people who like it, enjoy it.
With your fake 2-day shipping and your phone bill. Just like your Amazon purchases with 2-day delivery or whatever, streaming shows are now a generic commodity served up without any...
Why is he acting like Amazon purchase of 2 days delivery or whatever doesn't exist? They exist. They exist. They happen.
Artistic vision or...
I mean, they're far more efficient than the U.S. Postal Service.
Integrity whatsoever. Then to top it off, partially as a consequence of the above, attention spans are shot to hell. And algorithms know all of this. They feed off of it. The streaming services help to cause the decline in attention spans, and also they profit from it. This is a real phenomenon, by the way. A recent report suggests that attention spans have dropped by up to 70% in the last 20 years. This isn't due to any mysterious epidemic of ADHD. It's because we have an infinite amount of content streaming into our faces all day.
Yeah, okay. Like I said, I'm going to reiterate it. No one's forcing you to pay for this. What exactly do you propose to do about this, Matt? Make it illegal? So that cap the price? Because if you cap the price of streaming, then obviously more people will be able to access it. Let's say cap it at $5 per month, like federally speaking or whatever. Well, then more people will be able to access that. Ban it? I don't even see how that's constitutional. Like, we have a First Amendment. Whine about it on your streaming podcast? I guess. It's kind of hypocritical, but still. What exactly is your solution to this alleged problem? I mean, I'm not the one who brought up the problem of streaming. I mean, there are some problems with streaming, but I'm not the one who went on a 25-minute rant about it. You did. So I want to hear what his solutions are. Because I don't think it's fair to bring up problems, alleged problems, like streaming, leggings, modesty gate, etc., without giving any actual solutions. Now, when Del Partridge gives his solutions, we all laugh at him because he's stupid. Matt Walsh doesn't give his solutions because, he doesn't have any or he doesn't want to share them because it's far more profitable and it's far better for him to not give any solutions. And when people on the internet do this, I mean, love them or hate them, at least Clavicular gives a solution to some alleged problem. He says that people respect you more if you are pretty. He acknowledges that pretty privilege exists. And he says that, well, society's probably not going to change, so he wants to change himself for it. Now, am I endorsing everything that he does? No, you probably shouldn't be smacking yourself in the face for him. You shouldn't be running around and doing the excessive things that he does. You shouldn't be injecting some sort of drugs into your system, right? I'm not endorsing what he does. If he has illegally drunk or illegally done drugs, I prosecute him, lock him up. But at least he's given some sort of solution. Now, is the solution correct? I mean, but I think that he is a little bit more genuine. He even said that he only streams because he wants to make money. Like, duh. We know that. We know that people like Matt Walsh and Del Partridge are doing this because they want to make money. Not like it's a bad thing, but at least Clavicular was honest about it. So I kind of trust him that he has his viewers' best intentions. Now he might be dumb, obviously, suggesting that a bunch of 16-year-olds go do some drugs and shoot themselves up with whatever he's injecting in them is not a good idea. I mean, at least he's giving some sort of solution to some sort of alleged problem. Matt Walsh isn't going to give some sort of solution to some sort of alleged problem. And if he does, it's not going to be a good one because of the reasons that I outlined. A price cap would allow more people to use it. Obviously, something that he doesn't want. And trying to ban it, the courts would laugh at you. Like, hey, it wouldn't be even worth doing that. And whining about it, it's kind of hypocritical because you work for a streaming company.
Every day. So this has the potential to be a terminal decline, in other words. And it will continue until the moment it stops being profitable. Until there's a crash in the entertainment industry, which could be happening based on the data from Los Angeles. Until it does, the amount of content will continue to increase exponentially. The monoculture will remain a thing of the past. And one by one, without even telling you, these streaming services will continue to retroactively mess up the shows you like while flooding you with shows that no sane adult would ever want to watch. And soon, sooner than you think, thanks to AI, these streaming algorithms will be generating on their own entire films by the thousands every day.
And wouldn't that be a good thing? If it's tailored to something that you want and that you like, then you're going to get what you want. Well, you have spent the past 20 minutes talking about how the films and movies are not the way that you like anymore. Well, now with artificial intelligence, you're going to get them the way that you like. Of course, he's against artificial intelligence because it's popular to be anti-AI. That's the things with some of these debates. Super complex debates like artificial intelligence, foreign policy. It's easy to take the opposition side and just have one little slogan and just run with it. And all the people who all agree with you, can just shout that slogan, while the people like us have to sit there and lay out actual arguments, lay out actual defenses, which take time. And, no argument, no defense is going to last as short as some sort of slogan. I mean, a slogan can be like 2 to 3 words. You can just keep spouting that over and over. And just use that as your defense. Everyone get more anti-AI now. America only, America first. Right? You can pick those slogans and, work some sort of defense around it. While I have to sit there and, kind of rebuke your claims, some which are spurious and made up. But, sometimes I have to rebuke those claims, refute those claims rather. And, it takes a lot more time because it takes more words. Obviously. So Matt Walsh here, he doesn't have to actually do anything when he's anti-AI, anti-streaming.
It will generate films just for you, kind of like how Spotify will generate you a playlist based on the songs you listen to.
Cool. Like, okay.
And then you listen to those songs, and then it generates another playlist based on the fact that you listen to those songs. So pretty soon, your taste is not your taste anymore. You have the taste that the algorithm has kind of assigned to you.
No one's forcing you to do that. I'm not a Spotify user. I mean, I have the Spotify application for podcasts, but I'm not a huge music listener. I'm pretty sure you can still select your playlists that you want. I do believe that the internet does have some sort of search problem. The YouTube podcast application, even the built-in YouTube feed. I welcome having more artificial intelligence in there because I'm getting recommended the same 6 podcasts, the same 6 channels. I want more. I want to see who the YouTubers are. I want to see more of these interesting podcasts. I want to see more of this interesting content. The internet does not have a content problem. There's tons of content on there. We have a discovery problem. And artificial intelligence that is more tailored to you and what you want. It's going to be a great thing. It's going to be amazing. Matt just can't see the future, or he knows that it's better to be against the future than it is to be for the future.
And the same thing's going to happen with movies. It already is. And this will be the moment when popular culture is destroyed forever. We won't have any kind of share.
Pop culture will die, he says. Now, I wasn't planning on doing this, but let's go check over on the what's pop culture thing and see should it die? Should we let pop culture die? Or here's the pop culture chat. I think it's kind of cool, the little animation that they have here on the screen. I think it's cool. But let's see what's going on in the popular culture of the United States of America right now. Let's see. That's cool. Okay. Wow, Michael B. Jordan went to In-N-Out. I definitely cared. Very, very much. Let's see here. Thousands of authors published empty book protesting artificial intelligence. Well then. The Bachelorette was wow. Some guy said a joke, okay? Hip hop demon hunters. Wow. Usher and Justin Bieber got mad at a party. News at 11. This is breaking. 455 people commented on this, guys. 455. And apparently we care about the tea. And they always have these random screenshots. This is some side of Twitter or X I've never seen before. These random people. What is this? Those parody accounts that pretend to be Sabrina Carpenter or something, and of course they're all radicals and crazy. Like, is this really the culture that we want? This is pop culture here. I'm gonna go over to the pop culture subreddit. Hope you guys can see this on the screen. Like, I mean, this is what we're defending. Wow, Kai Trump got flooded in YouTube comment section for something she has zero control over, and yeah, very cool, very cool. Um, Joseph Duggar committed a crime. Wow, got the same haircut as Matt Walsh. Ugh. Euphoria composer Labyrinth blast show and quits. Well, I don't know what I would have done if I didn't know this news. I've never heard of that show, but I still never heard of the show. Like, wow. And of course, people in the comment sections, they're radicals, they're crazy. I mean, really, Matt, do you really want to go out there and defend these people? The people in these pop culture comment sections? Are these the people that you want to defend? Are these people that you're standing over, that you're pining for? Really, these people? Like, no.
Shared experience of anything anymore. Now, on the other hand, in theory, if enough people collect their own physical media and cancel the monthly payments they've probably forgotten about, then these streaming services won't be profitable for long. And eventually, if we maintain that pressure, we could revive an important part of American culture that for the past few decades has been vandalized and looted beyond recognition.
Vandalized and looted is when you can watch movies on the internet, guys.
People who somehow made Star Trek even gayer than before, and the people who butchered Seinfeld and everything else, they're not geniuses, but they're not suicidal.
They butchered Seinfeld because they stretched it. That's butchering. In Matt Walsh's words, butchering is when you make a TV show fit your TV. Yeah, butcher. It's over.
Either they respond directly to incentives. The moment we stop paying for their slop, they will relent. The deluge will stop, and eventually Hollywood will do something it hasn't done in decades: produce worthwhile films that people actually want to see, and that millions of people will.
I don't know why he's acting like people don't want to see the films that Hollywood is making. They obviously do, seeing as the films got made, and then they were successful. Like that's how the economy works.
Want to see together without a cell phone glued to their hands. Now we're on a trajectory heading into the total obliteration of anything that can be properly described as a culture. But we don't have to stay on.
We don't have a culture anymore. According to Matt Walsh, we don't have one.
On it. We do have other options, and we can put the phones down, cancel some of these services, intentionally choose to reclaim some semblance of a shared culture. I don't have a lot of faith.
Does he care about the economy? Like, does he want the GDP to go down? Does he just want us to be stuck in 2012 for forever? While China's out there, hurtling in the 2050s. You guys can have a flip phone, and if I like you, you can have a dab phone. Yes, sir. With the touchscreen, so you don't have to use T9 texting. You first, Matt. You first. Why don't you go get yourself I'll be nice, an iPhone 6, okay? You'd be good enough for that. And, cancel every streaming service that you have. And, you shouldn't be allowed to have a 4K Blu-ray. No. You should be only DVDs and down. You can have a DVD, a cassette, a record. I'll even let you have a flash drive. Well, you first. You first. And tell us how it is. And please, don't go try it out there and be like, oh, it's so amazing. Because it's touching grass.
Faith that we'll make that choice, but we can. And in the end, it's up to us.
It's up to us. It's always us versus them. The them who control the world or whatever. Such nonsense. Trying to pit us against the people who invented streaming. One of the great inventions. Seriously, one of the great inventions of all time. And this is the Tech Boy with TTB Media and the Pulse, the Heartbeat of America podcast, telling you that let us be thankful for the great time period in which we live. Let us be thankful for the great nation, the United States, in which we live. Unless you're Christine Martin. It's unfortunate for you. Let us be thankful for what we have. Let us be thankful for the technological advancements that we have. Because we live in the best period in human history. God bless. Tech Talk See you later.
Missionary gets kidnapped. He's one of the great lizards of our faith. So other than sneaking girls into the window, people actually get invited to go out with friends. Is that a thing that happens? Clear, the results were clean, and the results were unequivocally no crust. The great application tool is photo ranking yet again. I don't even have to put that above the great application of Snapchat. We are always going to be allies with MI6. Let's all open up our Bibles and have a lecture here, people. Like, what are you people doing? We may even be crawling in dumpsters. But look, we will never lose to MI6. That will never ever happen. In fact, I will admit to this is actually what is being proudly, patriotically, unapologetically American. And the friends who don't know that I exist. You and I am with you.
Most heartbeat of America.